Cosmic Canyons.
The Legend of the Voodoo Warlock. In the darkest shadows of history, the immortal Voodoo Warlock emerged, a cult leader whose origins lay in the hidden corners of Africa, in places unmarked on any map. Under mysterious circumstances, he arrived in the New World alongside the first slaves, yet he was no prisoner. He did not come in chains, but under the veil of night, accompanied by shadows that followed him like obedient servants. With him came a power older than any known prayer, a faith that did not serve the gods of men, but entities beyond the stars. His sacred texts, if they could be called that, were no biblical verses. They were incantations inscribed on human skin, parchments whose origins traced back to the darkest times of Sumer. He was no simple priest, no charlatan, no prophet. He was a vessel of darkness. He built his dominion deep within the swamps of Louisiana, among ancient trees whose gnarled roots rose from the murky waters like the fingers of forgotten idols. Long before the first settlers arrived, before the church bells ever rang, he was already there, a dark ruler over a land no king or priest could ever claim. His name was spoken only in whispers, in the taverns of New Orleans, in the smoke-filled rooms of the bayous, in the fever dreams of slaves who claimed to have seen him in the mist. The church tried to erase him. Priests sent to banish the evil either never returned or came back with empty, expressionless eyes, their souls torn away, their thoughts obliterated by a force beyond their comprehension. Some committed unspeakable acts upon their return, crimes so horrific that their names were erased from the church records. Something in the swamps had changed them, but there was one who did not fear him, another dark master. He came from Arkham, a town whose own history was steeped in mystery. He had heard the legends, the rumors of an ancient warlock who drew his power from realms beyond, from wells of knowledge beyond mortal understanding. But while others fled, he was drawn to it. He believed he could defeat him, not with a cross, not with steel or bullets, but with knowledge. He had delved into dark studies, walked through decayed temples, read texts so forbidden that even the most learned scholars dismissed them as madness. He was ready, or so he thought. When he arrived in the swamps, the air was heavy, like oil, thick and oppressive. The silence was suffocating. Not the usual stillness of night, but a forced hush, as if the swamp itself held its breath. He walked deeper, the trees closing in, their trunks forming ribs around a hidden, pulsing heart. And then he saw him. The warlock stood within a circle of withered earth, a place where even the soil had rejected life. His figure was draped in tattered robes that flickered like shadows in the moonlight. His face, a mask of ancient flesh, etched by time and dark rituals. His eyes, black abysses where worlds had been lost. The challenger raised his hand to strike, but before he could utter a single word, the earth began to tremble. They emerged from the very heart of the swamp, vines. At first, they were thin like serpents, then they grew thicker, denser, writhing with a sinister intelligence. They coiled around his legs, wound up his arms, slithered over his skin like creeping fire. He fought. He called upon names lost for thousands of years, but it was useless. The vines tightened their grip, yanking him upward, dragging him toward the ancient baobab, a tree whose roots had long intertwined with the warlock's forbidden incantations. He screamed, but his scream faded as the vines constricted, pierced his flesh, and pulled him into the bark, until only the echo of his suffering remained in the trees. Then, the night fell silent. The warlock watched. A smile curled on his lips. The victory was his. But then he felt something. A movement. The vines had not only wrapped around the challenger, they were creeping deeper. Their whisper, once an extension of his will, had become something foreign. The tree wanted more. It had tasted blood. And now, it wanted the master himself. The first roots curled around his feet. A crack split the earth, a chasm of darkness opening beneath him. The vines, which had once obeyed him, were now his enemy. Something else, something ancient, was stirring. A hunger he could no longer control. The baobab, awakened by the power of the creeping vines, had developed its own desire. The warlock screamed. He struggled. He called upon the old names, but they no longer answered him. With a final merciless pull, the tree claimed him, wrapping its limbs around him, dragging him upward, absorbing him into its wood, until he was nothing more than another voice in the darkness. They say the tree still stands today, deep in the unexplored swamps of Louisiana. Its branches are unnaturally thick with vines, twisting like living tendrils toward the sky, as if searching for more victims. The locals avoid it. Sometimes they whisper when the wind rustles through the swamps and the shadows begin their eerie dance. A ghostly murmuring can be heard. Not just one voice, but two. The old master, and the one who came to challenge him, trapped forever in a tree that refuses to die. The swamps keep their secrets, and some names are never truly forgotten. Thank you for listening to The Legend of the Voodoo Warlock, presented by Cosmic Canyons. If you enjoyed this tale of darkness and mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more stories beyond the veil of reality.